Welcome back to Trap Talk, brought to you by Krieghoff.
Boom! Best gun in the industry.
We love our Krieghoffs. We got to thank our sponsors. But that being said, today we had a great episode. Rick, tell them a little bit about what we talked about today.
Well, we talked the whole episode about feet, some talk about tennis shoes or boots, whatever, but really in depth on the stance on every position for right-handed shooters and left-handed shooters. So it'll be a great episode. You guys will love it. If you got any questions on it, give us a call.
Yeah, I think we've never done a deep dive on feet.
Nope.
We've done some mental. We've done eyes, hold points, some other topics. But I think the base of shooting all starts with the feet. And it's just such a freaking important topic to go into. And so we gave you some good content. So hope you guys are going to love it.
That's right. Like I said, if you got any thoughts on it or whatever, want to, talk about any questions on it, let us know. Send me a smoke signal, text, email.
Well, with that being said, let's get on to the show.
Get to the show.
With that being said, Trap Talk listeners, if you love everything about Trap Talk, please subscribe to our page. Also, throw some likes on the videos that you enjoy. It really means the world to us.
Yeah, comment on each episode. We read them. We respond to them. With that, let's get to the show.
Well, Rick, before we get to the show, we got to take a minute and thank all of our sponsors because we wouldn't be here without them. This show is brought to you by Krieghoff.
Yes, Krieghoff. I've shot one since about 2006. Best gun out there. Balance, customer service, the people at Krieghoff, top notch.
Everything you need to know about a good shotgun, that's for sure.
Yes.
We got to thank Wenig Stockworks, Custom Gun Stocks in Lincoln, Missouri. Nice hat, Ricky.
Yeah, I love my Wenig. I broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hundreds with my Wenig stock. But in all seriousness, get a hold of Bobby, Luke, Bill. Get yourself a stock made. It'll change your shooting.
I want to say thank you to Remington. They've supported the show since day one, and they've supported me for a very long time. Made All-America team shooting Nitros and STSs for many years. And we also got to thank Game Masters. If you're looking for a gun, Ricky, you can help them out.
Yep, get a hold of me at Game Masters 2. Call me, text me, email me, send a smoke signal. I can get you any gun out there. We carry about every brand available in the trap, skeet, sporting clays. Even carry some hunting guns, some hunting rifles, whatever you need. I'm
going to have to try that smoke signal. I haven't communicated with you that way yet, but that sounds like fun.
You like that?
So for the next sponsor, Shot Tracker, we just seen them at Vegas at the SHOT Show, and they gave us some great insight on the product.
Yep, it's like having a coach on the end of your barrel. They got some new updates coming out that'll really change the game with the Shot Tracker, make it a little easier to set up. So get a hold of them, get yourself a Shot Tracker, and it'll help you.
Want to thank you to Shotguns West, Ryan Castani, for being our Pillas sponsor. Where do you get your Pillas from? They're doing a great job. They've got the new frames out. They're sleek, they're modern, and they look fantastic. Also, really excited about this year's new sponsor, Outlaw Engineering.
Yeah, Outlaw Engineering. It's owned by Randy Freston II, R2. I've known him and his family for years. His dad's past president of the ATA. He does a lot of engineering in the oil field business. So get a hold of him for all his engineering needs you got, and he can hook you up.
Big thank you to White Flyer, making a great target and a great product. We've been smoking those all over the country, right, Ricky?
Yeah, they came out with a new Eco Flyer this year, so hopefully we can get to shoot them at some shoots. I know we did a lot of testing on them, and they are an awesome target, so a little alternative to the pitch target. So
looking forward to trying that out. Another thing that I'm looking forward to seeing more of is SOS Clays.
Yeah, the SOS Clays software owned by Greg Pink. Doing an awesome job. He's taken over the trap shooting world with his software. It's top notch. Get a hold of him for any needs you have in the shotgun world.
And last but not least, we got gun and trophy insurance. Rick, you got to tell me about that.
Yeah, you can get a hold of Cole or Larry Cushman, family-owned business, and they take care of all my needs on gun insurance. They also offer trophy insurance for all your wildlife trophies to insure them too. But top notch. Get a hold of them and they can hook you up. Literally, it's simple. Get online, gunandtrophy.com. You can get a policy going in, I think, less than about 10 minutes. Very reasonably priced.
That's awesome. Thank you to all the sponsors. And with that being said, let's get on to the show. Welcome to Season 2 of Trap Talk.
Brought to you by Krieghoff.
Welcome to another episode of Trap Talk, brought to you by Krieghoff. I'm your host, Zach Nannini, and I'm here with my co-host, Richard Marshall Jr. We got our Krieghoff shirts on today.
That's right.
And I got to tell you, folks, we didn't even plan this. This is just sometimes our brains, we link up. Like we both think Krieghoff shirt, bam. We both think pizza. Pizza shows up. It's kismet, right? Right, Ricky?
Whatever.
we're on the same brainwave leak, and we're doing well. But we wanted to take this episode a little bit old school because we've had some interviews. We did the SHOT Show, obviously did stuff at the Spring Grand, did some stuff at the Southern, and now just want to decompress and go back to the basics of trap. And I was wanting to ask you, Rick, about some foot positions like feet, standing, weight, body, because we haven't gotten into a lot of that balance situation. And I feel like in talking with the guys at the AMU, you know, they talked a lot about their feet and like how they lean into it with bunker versus, you know, we talk a lot about the GOAT Leo, and he's more, you know, he was more kind of standing flat footed, but obviously he's a little bit different than everybody else. But
he was a different specimen.
Yeah, a whole different specimen. But I just want to spend some time, you know, getting your opinion on, you know, where should people start? And I guess we start with, you know, let's speak on a right-handed shooter and then probably flip it for a left-handed shooter so we can get as much value as we can for the listeners today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a big advocate of stance.
So question number one, do you have the same stance on every single post?
No.
Okay, no. So what do you mean by that? What should people be looking at or thinking about when they walk onto the line, post 1 to 5? Like what are the thoughts that go through your mind?
Well, of course, you know, I lead off. I'm more straight, we'll just say, on post 1 because I always lead off, so I'm starting on 1. Now, when I walk up to the post, any post, I'm always checking my feet first before I start. As you know, you guys always give me crap as we're shooting and, you know, what are you doing down there? I'm making sure I'm ready, you know? And so I always, you know, my feet aren't straight. They're parallel, shoulder width apart, okay? But parallel. And as I go from 1 down the line, I just rotate everything clockwise.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you take your feet and you place them right under your shoulders that feels comfortable for you. And then your left foot is a little bit in front of your right foot.
Yeah, but parallel.
And then as you go, you shift in direction. And for you people listening on, you know, audio and not watching us on YouTube, right now I'm kind of using my hands to show the diagram of which direction he's going. But I'm believing, you know, he's rotating. I bet you're about to pull up a picture with some information. I can see him looking through his phone. When he does this, he's usually got something good we're going to use.
So these are old school, but like if you can see it, Zach, tape, that's post 1.
Okay. So that position. Now let's stay on that. And before we go farther, pull that back up, Rick.
Yep. And we'll give this to John. I'll send these over to John and he can post them on there.
So let's just take that for a right-handed shooter on post 1. Okay. Now in that position, we've got more open to the left. Now, why are we more open to the left on 1?
So that way you could swing to the left angle.
Okay. So if someone is breaking the backside of the lefts on 1, I mean, what would you adjust?
Your feet.
A little bit more. So very clear. If you're breaking back edge on 1 of that left-hand target, you feel bound up. You feel like you can't get there. You open up, you shift those feet a little bit to the left-hand side so that you're favoring that target. Is that correct?
Yes, and I always say you want to have your weight 60-ish% forward.
Okay.
So, you know, you're moving, you're pivoting everything at your hips. and rotating and not arm shooting,
Correct. So for there, we'll talk about some weight now. We're on post 1. If we're breaking the front side of the left-hand target, then maybe we went too far with our feet, right?
Went too far. You could be pushing to the target, getting your weight like almost like throwing it. I mean, there's all sorts of things that can come into play with that. So,
yeah, I think you said it correct. You've got to figure out what works best for you, step 1, and like you are really good at setting those feet and saying, okay, this is my spot. But also, I've seen you make micro adjustments depending on if you break the target well or not. Like, maybe on post 1, the targets are a little wider on the left, or they're a little faster, and you didn't quite catch it on the show target. You break one on the back side, but you still hit it. I've seen you make that micro shift to that direction, and then boom, you lock right back in. Is that a pretty common practice that people should adjust?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate, like I stated at the beginning. Feet. It all starts at your feet. So you want to make sure your feet are good. Now, targets, one's wider than the other. Okay, you just make a little micro adjustment, like you said, and that should help you. Now, there could be other things. For me, that's what it is. Other people, could be some way you're holding the gun, where you're looking, where you're holding on the house, above the house, eyes too far, whatever. All that comes into play. But yes, starting there, you saw the picture of my feet on 1. So, and for me, my whole point, I hold a little bit outside the house.
Now, do you have all 5 pictures to show today, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. So before we skip to the next picture, on weight, you said 60%. Now, do you mean 60% of your weight on each of your feet, like forward, like on the balls of your feet, or you mean 60 on the left?
I feel like when and all my students know this, and we talk about it, is when you're mounting the gun, it's almost like my toes are almost grabbing the concrete.
Grabbing to it a little bit with the front.
Just a little bit. So that
weight. If you take that whole foot, we're talking about the top 30% or top 40% section of the foot.
Yeah.
Is where you're putting the weight to, and you're feeling it on the pad, not necessarily the heel, correct?
Yes.
Now your heel doesn't.
If you're leaning back, as you know, Zach, any weight goes back, the gun automatically goes up.
So that's another thing that I think we need to talk about is if you're on your heels, the tendency is to roll upwards.
That's right.
And then you're going to generally short the target, especially on the angle.
You're going to go, I was in front of it, or what? No, you were high and behind, because instead of going this way, now when you lean back, it does this.
Yes. So that's post 1. Yep. And if we're a left-handed shooter, then it's going to be.
So a left-handed shooter. Since you want to talk about lefties right now,
we got to get into it.
I don't have anything to show feet for left. Left-handed shooter would be like a so for left, you want to stand with your right foot. You're going to shoot across your body, so you're unwinding to the left-hand target. Okay,
so a closed stance, correct?
For right-handed, you're going to be, almost like a post 5 stance for a right-handed.
So what we're going to do is we're going to show the diagrams 1 through 5 on a righty, and I think the best way to explain it is it's going to be flip-flopped. So if you look at the pictures for the right-handed shooter, you're going to get a little bit of a flip-flop there.
We can figure out some type of diagram to put up. We can have John. John's good with that sort of stuff.
Way better than us. We're just good at talking.
Yeah. Teaching and talking. I mean, I can do it.
So post 2, Rick, let's see that picture.
So there's post 2.
So are those next to each other so that you could like scroll from one to the other?
Yep. So
there's 1, and then that's 2. A shift. So you're shifting just a little bit to the right.
Just a little. Now, here's the other thing. You could, I've changed over the past. You could go different, like, here's post 3. Okay.
Correct.
Now you can go between 2 and 3 feet. Like I always say, everybody's feet position, and all my students out there that I've taught understand this. I give you those basics, like, hey, stand kind of like this, But then I'm always saying, hey, you got to find your comfort zone. So maybe that stance on 2 doesn't work. You got to turn a little bit more, or 1 doesn't work. You got to. That's fine. As long as I see you moving properly to the target, that's fine. I'm not going to say, oh no, that's not going to work for you, because everybody is different. So you can't.
Well, and that's something in itself. The difference, right? Like if you have people that have knee issues, hip issues, like my father, anyone that has issues where they can't turn or they're really stiff, they've had a back surgery, something like that. Well, then it's a whole nother world, right? Then we're having to tailor and coach to the person that's out there shooting, and that's something that you can't just say, well, just stand like this all day and it's going to work, right?
Well, your dad has issue. My dad's had new hips, new knees. He's back's fused, neck's fused. So when Pop shoots, when my dad does, there's sometimes his feet, he can't stand like I do. So he's got to make some, and I always tell him, I'm like, make sure your balance is good. That's the number one thing. Make sure you're good. Your balance is good. When you mount that gun and got that weight forward, that your balance is good. If it's not good, it's not going to be good at all. If
it's not good, it's not going to be good, folks.
But here's the one thing you want to remember, and we didn't talk about this, with the weight forward. So you want to mount the gun and the weight forward all in one motion.
Okay.
So if anybody watches me,
you don't mount and then lean.
You can't do this and then lean. I could grab your barrel and pull you right over.
You're just you have to come to that spot,
because then you're locked in. You're good. You can rotate.
You come up to that spot. You can't add a lean after the fact.
Yeah, don't do that.
And I've seen some people do that. They get they're like, oh, I got to go forward, and then they do this, and then they're off balance.
That's right. And then there's the arm shooting involved.
Okay.
So, hello, Trap Talk listeners. Zach Nannini here, and I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Remington. And today, I would like to go into what shells I use when I'm training and when I'm shooting tournaments. First of all, we start with the Gun Club. This is a great shell. I shoot an 1145 ounce and 1/8, and this is what I shoot for singles and both shots of doubles. The only reason I don't shoot this in tournaments is because I like a little bit of a harder shot, a little bit of a harder break, but it works great, and it's the same speed as this STS shell. So this STS shell, a little bit harder shot, figure 8 wad column, smokes the targets a little bit harder. Also, I shoot for singles and doubles, both shots. And then when I go to the back fence and I want to put the smoke on them, I bring out the Nitro 27, ounce and 8, 7.5. It's a 1235 shell, blast the targets, works really well. I hope these shells work for you, and I want to thank Remington for supporting Trap Talk.
Yeah, stance. So 1 and 2, we've talked now, about 2, that it just shifted a little bit to the right, okay? And that's the same thing now. Let's go to the left hand on the left side on 2. So 1, you're like this, shooting across your body, okay? Then when you change your feet position to go to 2, you're just rotating clockwise. Everything you're going to rotate clockwise. I know there's some people out there that teach to keep the same position. I'm a big advocate of moving. So when you get over to
that makes sense. So you're saying that whether you're a right-handed shooter or a left-handed shooter, you still rotate clockwise.
Yeah, you're still going to rotate clockwise.
It's just you start differently.
Yes. Yeah.
The left-handed shooter on one's going to start with their feet closed and pointing
across their body,
pointing to the left, and then they're going to keep coming over. The right-hand shooter is going to stand open and pointing to the right a little bit, and then they're going to keep coming over. But everybody turns right with their feet.
Mm-hmm.
That
is correct.
I even learned something today because I knew that they were doing that, but I never knew to say, well, clockwise, no matter what. Like that's an interesting, valuable bit of information. where do I send my check?
The big is on no. So yeah, and it's one of those, and then on 3, okay, as we go here on post, so we got 1, 2,
3.
Okay,
Correct.
so 3, if it's a perfect square, so these pictures are from Lincoln Trap and Skeet, my home club that I grew up shooting. Broke my first 25, my first 100 at this club. The post 3, trap 3, everything's pretty square. And so I always say almost run from corner to corner down the center of your body. So your feet on each side of that square. So that corner's running
Yeah, so you take the box, and you cut it right down the middle from corner to corner, and you put your body in the center of that box, and then you're rotating off of that line. You're not cheating to the front of the box or cheating to the back of the box. You're using the center of the box. And that's in most cases, unless the pads are all messed up, right?
Yes, exactly. But just try to, just realize, so you can move the same distance to the left and to the right. And if it's like, maybe you have some issues with, knees or a back issue or something, and you need to adjust a little bit more, that's fine. Get into your comfort zone.
So I'm assuming if we've been going clockwise, we're going to keep going clockwise when we get to 4.
Are you sure?
I'm guessing. I think I know the answer, Professor, but I'm not sure. This is where you kind of hold your hand up and you just hope they say, yeah. Oh, there we go.
There's 4.
There we go.
So you just rotate more. And now you're shooting now. So let's go back to 3 for left-handed. You're leaving these lefties out, Zach. See,
I know you'll cover it.
Tyler's left-handed, so I had to teach him, but I can also shoot left-handed. I should, it's just, I love to mess with Tyler. First time I took him out shooting, when I told him that about Lane, he's like, Dad, I don't understand. I grabbed his gun. I went, boom, boom, broke it. I go just like that. And he goes, really? I said, well, just look at the target and it'll break,
Yet again, folks, what can't Richard Marshall Jr. do?
So with a left-handed shooter for post 3 then, just switch on the left side and split that difference, okay? And then when we're going to 4 now, so I just showed you the feet position for right-handed for 4. Then when you go to 4, boom, it's almost like post 2, but flip-flopped.
It's flip-flopped. It's
2 were right-handed, flip-flop, left-handed, post 4.
Yeah, so for righty, the way you stand on 1 is going to be, for a lefty, the way we would stand on 5.
Yeah.
And 4 is going to be 2. 3 is going to be just a flip-flop mirror image of 3, right?
Yep.
It's just the opposite side. But
and then there's 5.
So that would be, if you were to flip it around for a lefty, that's the post 1 stance for a lefty, basically.
Yeah,
You got to have that front foot out, in front leading, but you're just turning it all upside down like a mirror.
Yes.
So I mean, that's huge. But I guess the question that I know that the listeners are dying to ask is, why are we even changing our feet? Why would we move them from one to the other? What's changing on a trap field that would cause me to want to change my feet?
Well, your angles, your body moving. Listen, we're not all 13, 14 and flexible as anybody. And I mean, as we get older, things just don't move as well.
But I think what you said, the angle's changing, right? And where a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people think about the angle of the trap house, but in the center, we've got the hard right angle, we've got the hard left angle, and everything in between. As you're shifting onto the left side of the field, the perceived angle or the perceived way that you're looking at that target is shifting left. Although the machine isn't, going any harder left, the angle, that line, the way you're viewing it, it's a different angle.
Yeah.
And so statistically on 1, you're going to get a lot more lefts than you're going to get rights. And statistically on 5, you're going to get a lot more rights than you're going to get lefts.
Well, you're going to get a straightaway. Here's the deal. I see a lot of people out there standing. They really don't pay attention to their stance much. They just go out there and they stand, okay? That's okay, fine. But then I'll see them get like a hard right angle, and as they're moving, they go.
Yep.
I see that all the time. Now you won't see me go because I can turn.
You can
rotating.
turn. Now, when you're pivoting, are you turning with those knees, or is it the hips, or kind of like what is moving? Like, because I know you're locked in here, but what's physically kind of moving?
Everything's moving. I'm not bending. I'm not taking my knees and doing this. I do that occasionally in sporting classes because you got to move extra.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, if you got one target way on the right side of the field and one target way on the left side of the field, I've seen guys shoot one target and then move their feet for the second target where you physically turn in the box. Like when we were in Dubai, I remember a couple of those where we had to shoot one and then the other one was literally behind us over our head and you had to spin around in the box and shoot. And that's not necessarily common, but
Yeah.
I think what it showed me is you have to have your feet ready for the shot that you're shooting.
Yeah, and that's why in trap now, hear me when I say this. When I put my feet on the ground and they're set, they're concrete. Okay, I don't want them moving. I don't kick back and just I don't do this like Rich Bullard does.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
taparoo.
I keep everything. I always make sure that everything's good. I'm comfortable. My feet are good. They stay in. Now, the reason I say that is because I see a lot of people moving around.
Yeah, I think that's something just to spend a second on. There's a lot of folks that they, I don't know if it's nerves or it's just they don't know if it's important or not, but they're walking around in the box. They're moving their feet, they're shuffling their feet, they're kind of changing their feet. And I feel like if you change your feet 5 times for 5 targets, you're going to have 5 separate moves, right? So you're not really learning like if you're locked in feet on post 1 and you get that hard left, that move from where you are to where that target is a distance in math. If you change your feet 5 times, that move's going to be different each time. I mean, you're going to either need to go harder or slower depending on your feet to catch that same spot, right, Rick?
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. That's where I stress this as much as possible is keep your feet. I always say quiet feet.
Quiet. Yeah, usually there's nothing else quiet about us but the feet, right? I mean, that's we got quiet feet.
Ding ding.
Ding ding, baby.
Hello, Trap Talk listeners. Today's episode is brought to you by Wenig Custom Gun Stocks.
That being said, a custom gun stock is going to elevate your game to get the same fit every single time.
And I can attest to that. I broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hundreds with my Wenig Custom Gun Stock.
I haven't broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, Rick, but I did break 100 from the 27 within 7 days of getting my stock and broke 2 more that year and loved it.
Here, this is okay.
You would take it or me?
We'd like to thank Wenig Custom Gun Stocks for supporting Trap Talk.
That being said, everyone knows.
Winners shoot Wenig.
Are we doing the import?
So we'll get to. We've gone through. We've showed 1 through 5, right? We showed the 5 picture.
Yep.
So that rotation, that seems to make the most sense to me because we're adjusting with the angle of the field, and we're trying to stay in the center of that field. If it's over here, our feet need to be over here. Over here, we need to be this way. I guess when it comes to weight distribution, is it always 60-40 for you on each position, or do you have posts where you lean more weight?
No, I try to be the same, but it varies now. So when you're on post 1 stance, you're more straight, okay, opened up. So your weight's more forward center. Okay, you get to 2, it changes a little bit, and say it goes more towards your left foot. Now when you get over to 3, that weight's forward. I'm kind of over my toes, so to speak.
More.
Yeah.
More. Yeah, you're more stable. I mean, I feel more cattywampus or off-centered on 1 and 5, and that distribution of my feet and weight, because if I lean too far, I almost feel like I'm going to fall over. We're on 3.
That's why you try to find that happy medium. So 4, and here's the deal, folks. Post 4 and 5, if the stance on 4 work for you for 4 and 5, use them for 5 too. If the stance on 5 work for 4, use them that too. I'm not going to ever say, well, that's not going to work for you. I'm going to watch you and be like, hey, let's shift. And all my students can contest this or agree with this is when I go up to you and say, hey, move it, and I will move your foot literally an inch. And some are like, okay. And then they're like, oh, okay.
And that's something that I've experienced so many times is how a shift 1 inch can change everything. And people can be like, wow, I feel that I'm open now. I don't feel restricted. And I hear this word restricted a lot. I feel like, man, I can't, when I'm going to the left, it's almost like I run out, or it's almost like the gun slows down, or it's almost like I can't get there. Whenever I hear that phrase, I'm like, well, let's look at the feet and let's open your body up so you can make that rotation over to that target. I guess, we're talking singles right now, but if we went to handicap, I'm assuming the feet stay the same. Is that correct?
I use the same foot position for singles, handicap, and doubles. Why?
Now, how about weight distribution? Is there any difference in weight distribution between singles and handicap and doubles? And I would say maybe to
Singles
doubles.
and handicap, no. I try to shoot the same posture and form. Now I shoot a little quicker in handicap, and singles you got to be deliberate. Okay, for all you young kids out there listening, I mean, yeah, it's fast is cool, but let me tell you, I can go back and look at my friggin' shoot ATA, average card, and tell you that in 1988 to about 96 or whatever it was, that I would break a 200 at 195, a 200 at 189. I mean, and that speed kills. So you want to be deliberate.
When you got the light and when you're on, you break them. But when something's not where it needs to be at that spot, at that distance, it's very rough to stay consistent.
Absolutely. So when I go to handicap, about the same. Now, doubles, I try to mimic everything the same, except for I'm really focused on that weight forward for that first shot. So when I shoot, boom, and I'm moving the gun off the house. Of course, I'm on the house. And when I shoot, I'm absorbing that recoil and make that little bitty loop.
Yeah, I will agree with you. I think the thing that does, like you said, in doubles, I almost feel like I'm more with the weight of the feet, just a little bit more because the gun's going off.
70%. I mean,
I think the easiest way it was explained to me, and I don't remember who told me this, but they were like, well, you want to be where you would be in singles and doubles after your first shot. So like if you're at your 60-40 and then you take the recoil and you're at 50-50, well, then you're technically starting your second shot on your heels, right? So you got to do whatever you got to do so that when you start that second shot, you're starting it in a forward aggressive position to rotate to that other bird. And I think so many people don't do that. They get, maybe they're 50-50 to start, or maybe they're 60-40 to start, and then they get rocked back, and then they're doing that roll up.
Their first move when they shoot, boom, and then they're back. So then when they're coming over,
they're going up.
And that, I'm exaggerating, but they're continuing the up move. So when they block the target, they pull the trigger, and they're like, oh man, I was right on that. And then, where was I?
Visually, it looks like that because you're coming from the backside and everything's getting blotted out, but that target's still flying.
Yep.
And usually you're stopping the gun when you lose sight of the bird. I mean, I've found more people stop the gun because they lose the vision. They're like, oh, I'm there, stop, bang. Oh, I'm there, stop, bang, versus keeping it in sight. I mean,
yes,
that's
you are correct. And that's why, that 70% for the doubles roughly, and everybody can play this. Some people do good with having just a little bit forward and they stay forward and go, I always say, don't try to pull the target to you. Go to that target.
And that's good advice. Don't pull it to you. Go to it.
Yeah, because if you're pulling it, you're going back.
Go up with it. Use your whole body and go there. That's wild. Now,
in 2023 here, we have done 37 state shoots, 7 of the 11 satellite grants. And
we're almost there.
So most of we now have, I think it's 241, 242 clubs across the country using our system.
If a club was wanting to use you, do you have like a base entry-level pricing or packages that you advertise, or is it based on the size of the shoots, Greg?
Our base level price is $0. Our complete package system, the whole enchilada, is $0.
$0 is a good price.
It's a good price.
The premium members do not pay a pre-squad fee, ever.
Yeah.
For all year.
All year.
Can I buy a lifetime membership?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to
Gotta be
say,
your first lifetime
is there a 5
I want
year?
to be number one. Zach,
We want lifetime memberships for me and Ricky.
there are some other folks out there, obviously, with different, opinion on stance, I'm sure. And there's that, right? And like we talked a little bit about Leo. Like I watched Leo shoot, and I think that left to right, these same feet that you're talking about, he had that same,
he adjusted his feet a little bit. When he got down to 4 and 5, he was more like a post 3 stance, maybe, or even not even as extreme as 3. I mean, you'd have to watch his video to see. I mean, I stood next to him and shot thousands and thousands of targets, and I mean, we discussed it, on just, and this is way before Big L was teaching, and it was one of those things that he arm shot, so it worked for him because he rotated. And he even said one time, I said, "Are you getting a lot of people to ask you to teach them like you shoot?" And he goes, "All the time." And I was like, "What do you tell him?" He goes, "I can't teach you the bad habits." He did. He perfected it for 42 years of shooting. I mean, for everybody out there, all you got to do is look in the Grand American program under Grand American wins, and Big L's name's there 27 times.
Yeah, but when I noticed from him, though, and I did not get to watch him as much as you did, but I got to watch him compete several years. I've been in a couple shoot-offs with him, and I've seen, like, I felt like he, and it was hard to judge where his weight distribution was because he was a big man. I mean, but being a big man, I felt like he was more flat-footed or more centered with his weight right down the middle of his belly, and he was just moving up top and kind of making those shots. Obviously you can make that work, but I mean, it's not as common, right?
No. I don't recommend it. Like I said, even Leo didn't recommend it.
Well, that says a lot right there. Like, the guy that did it the most says, "Hey, probably don't do this." But
try this at home, folks.
But the thing that I did think, and I just kind of unpacking this, I feel like, yes, you've got that roll up when you're more centered with your weight, but I feel like some people, and this is even me in some cases, if you get too much weight forward, or you get too aggressive, or you get too rolly with your knee, because I see some people crack that front knee out like it's like a lawn chair, where like you're really getting into that whole knee roll, and you're kind of moving off those knees. And it's almost like, I feel like you've created a wobbly foundation where, as you're going to the target, your barrel height is moving based on the wobble of your knee. And like one thing also, like that, like your teeter-totter, right? Where, like, Leo did not have any teeter-totter. Like, he was arm shooting, but because he eliminated the base or eliminated the feet, he eliminated that side of the game. His gun barrel was completely in control because there was nothing moving down there, right?
Yeah, you can Google, his video, and there's little blurbs on there. Yeah, I mean, the man did his thing.
He's incredible.
And it worked. I mean, like I said, I stood next to him and shot on his squad at multiple shoots, and it was always a great time, and it was great to witness some of the amazing scores he broke in absolute horrendous weather, good weather. I was fortunate.
He was very smooth.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and a great guy. I mean, just a gentle giant, and I wish he was here today, and and he'd been the first person to bring on our podcast.
Oh,
him and Frank Hoppy. I'd have loved
we had 5 or 10 episodes on them before we could even get to anybody else. I mean, a lot of good info there, but it's just, it's so hard because there's so much knowledge out there in the trap world, and I feel like every X amount of years, a generation of that dies off, and if you don't carry that information forward, it's like, you're losing it, and then it's like the new. But the good news is there are new people reinventing the game. There are new people that are kind of coming out, and it's the same game, but like there's people doing things.
There's really no reinventing trap shooting, but it is, everybody's got their own. Here's what I'll say: everybody's got their own technique and do this and do that, and have made it work, and that's all great. When I'm teaching, I'm trying to get you fundamentals. I'm trying to get you to where you're breaking targets consistently and a very easy basis. That's the one thing that I've seen a lot of people struggle. And that's why, Zach, when we started doing this podcast, we've been interviewing a lot of people, but we also do these deals to try to help and try to preserve some of the trap shooting, techniques. We're going to bring
whatever it might be.
We're going to bring other instructors on, and we're going to do some cool stuff in the future with other instructors to try to get like their take on everything. And
Yeah,
and
I want to learn. I want to learn from every level. I'm the kind of guy, like Ricky said before. Ricky mounts the gun and shoots, and has got all of this talent, all of these years of experience, all of this, all of that. And at the end of the day, he looks at a target and breaks a target. I'm over here trying to analyze the different layers of all the different things, and
that's the problem.
that's my problem. I mean, I just, you've got to eventually sometimes get out of your head and not think about all these different things and just like, okay, get back to shooting, right? And I think there's two sides of, shooters. There's the shooters that shoot, and then there's the shooters that think, and then there's in between. And then there's like when you turn it off, when you turn it on. But
Shoot the first one and then loop to the second one and drive through it. Ugh. Just like that.
Great shot. Shot 2. Great shot.
We're just trying to help every shooter out there, no matter if you're an expert or a beginner, and this product will take your game to the next level.
Works for any of the disciplines. As long as it can find a clay in the image, it will figure out how it's moving and how that shot pattern is going.
Ugh. Now, in that shot, I intentionally shot high, which is most people do.
That's what you did.
Yep. So outside the pattern. Now, what's it say for the correction of that?
1 foot.
Yep, that'd be correct. Now, in this one, I will smoke the target.
If people want to purchase this unit, what's the best way to do it? I mean, is it through your guys' website? Is there a phone number to call, or what's that situation?
Yeah, go to our website, takeaimtech.com, and an online store. We have inventory. We'll ship usually within 24 hours.
Huge thank you to Jim and Bob at Take Aim Tech for supporting Trap Talk.
I do want to talk about distance with feet, because we talked about shoulder width. Now, that being said, we talked about if you lean to the left or you go left, you're going to have more angle left. You go right, you're going to have more angle right. That's simple. But how about distance with your feet in and out? If you go wider with that platform, does that make you slower?
Well,
if
like
you
I said, shoulder width. So
correct.
Here's what I'll say. When it gets real windy, like when
Nevada,
I was just trying to think, the real windy shoot was, last year, like shooting in Vegas or shooting the Autumn Grand, months and months ago. I would say take your feet and do a half step out on each foot, just a little bit wider. Now, what that will do to you also, that can slow your swing down. So you might have to adjust a little bit more accordingly.
So wider stance is going to equal more stable foundation, potentially in the wind, but could also equal slower gun movement. Now, that being said, as we come closer with those feet, the foundation has got to be less stable, right? If you brought your feet together all the way,
I mean,
right?
It's all.
I don't know if I could get my feet together all the way with my legs the way they are, but I mean, I could, try. But
listen, we're gonna try that when we get to like Ohio State shoot. I'm gonna have you try the feet together on the practice track, and then I'm gonna go like this, and you're gonna go.
I'm gonna fall right over. So
man down.
But I would think if you brought them in closer, stability goes away. But I would think that gun speed has to go up a little bit.
Yeah, it can, and it's all. That's why you want to get. I always say, shoulder width apart, but be comfortable. Okay, my shoulders are wider than your shoulders.
Well, yeah.
So it's all. You want to be like, okay, this is what I want to do.
This is how I feel. This is good. We're good to go.
Yep, absolutely. So I would really, that's why I say when I walk up, and anybody can watch me, coming to Ohio State shoot, PA State shoot, when I go
anywhere where targets are thrown, you'll see Ricky Marshall Jr.
When I'm getting there up to each station or each post, I look down at my feet and make sure they're right. And some people say, well, why do you do that? And I said, well, it's one less thing that you're thinking about. I can go up and stand, but it's like, okay, but the visual, I'm a visual guy. See it? Okay, we're good.
No, I think you have to go through. I mean, this is a whole nother episode where we talk about like the checklist of things to do. I think we did a little bit on that before, but like it starts with the feet. I mean, I've always been taught, always been told, and always thought you start the ground up. You work from the toes all the way to the mount, all the way to calling pull. and it's like it's kind of building layers until you say, you know, the word to draw the bird and go get it. But it starts with the feet. If you don't have your feet right, everything after that is going to follow in a bad direction.
That is correct. Yep. So that's why, like I've always said, you got it. It's the basics, but really the foundation starts it all. I always tell everybody, like, have you ever played golf? You know, and I play Army golf. I hit it whichever, you know, but I always tell people, if you want to get consistent, you got to have the good stance, swinging through, just like shooting. It all equals consistency. So you find that happy medium there. This works. Okay, boom. And then you use it. And I don't look back, except for, like you said, I broke the back off that target. And I could tell, like, I broke the back just because I short shot it, or I broke the back because my body's just not letting me get over there.
And you'll feel it.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
For me, it's not something that I have to think about. It's something that, like, instantaneously, my feet have already moved over because I'm like, oh crap, I'm tight. And it really happens a lot in doubles. Like, it generally happens to me on post 4 in doubles. I get over there from 3 to 4, and I just kind of don't have enough to get to that second bird, and I just make that little micro shift.
And for you, it all happened when you were running down the street chasing that meatball and you hurt yourself. I mean,
that ripped Achilles didn't do me any favors, that's for sure. I mean, I got to
chasing the meatballs.
Public service announcement, folks. If you can avoid ripping that Achilles, you want to do that at all costs. It's not fun.
Now, how has that affected you, Zach? For, you know.
So I'm still dealing with it at some level, but the biggest thing was the atrophy. So, like, when you go through it was
your left leg, right?
It was my left leg, my driving leg, right? So for me, that experience has taught me a lot about feet. And I honestly had a period of time where, and it's developed some bad habits.
I know.
I had to shoot like Leo because I didn't have that front foot anymore. So I had to reinvent my game.
Missouri State shoot that year, you were
the whole state shoot.
I you stood right next to me, and you're more.
And I won the overall in state that year, but I didn't do it pretty because I didn't have my feet anymore, and so all my brakes went out 5 feet or 10 feet. I mean, everything slowed down because I couldn't get there.
Yeah.
But like the reality was when they cut that and they put me, I had to basically up with a cast for 2 or 3 months, and then therapy to rebuild. But if you looked at the size of my calf, like when I grab around my calf, like I can't get my fingers around it with both my hands. Well, then with the one that I had, I could wrap around it and have like actual fingers touching. So it was like inches smaller around the circumference of my calf because all of that muscle died because I wasn't using it for months and months and months, and they had to cut it and reattach it and go into that. So for me, I'm still working on building that front left foot because the tendency is my right back calf is much stronger than my front left calf, and I don't want to push off of it as much as I used to.
I understand.
And to give just some numbers, right? Like that year before that in handicap, my average was 94.5. The year after the surgery, my handicap average was like 90. So I feel like that had a lot to do with I wasn't charging off of that front side. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm going to shoot the target. I didn't push anymore. So
you short shot a lot of stuff. I remember we were, I think it was at Missouri.
On the bottom.
One of them that I was standing behind you helping you at the practice trap, and you just kept friggin' just short shooting. But because your body's going to tell you when you're doing something, you go to move and it don't like that move. The brain's going to go pull the trigger, and you pull the trigger. You're like, what the hell? I want.
Yeah, and it's the damnedest thing because it went from like, I mean, obviously one day I'm doing it the way I do it in all my life, and then the next day you don't have that anymore. It goes away, and you've got to reinvent it. But like I'm trying to initiate weight back onto that front leg, and I'm trying to build it up so that I have that power off that calf. Which, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And I was able to shoot really good singles and doubles that way. But I never could shoot. I mean, I think my singles almost got better because it slowed everything down to where I was more methodical. Yeah. But I never could get that, big handicap stroke back once I was flat-footed.
Yeah, I get it. Well, and that's one of the things. You know, you just need listen. You need to come along to a couple of my 2, 3, 4 day classes, and walk with me side by side, and you'll get them steps, and you'll work.
Yeah,
that.
you get them Ricky Marshall steps. You wear those pads out from left to
Listen,
right.
Hey, at these classes, I'm like, someone asks how many steps you do, and I'm like, 11,000, 12,000 a day, and I said, that's my steps. If I include my wife's steps in there, I did about 18, 19,000. Jody goes, because every time we're walking somewhere, she's like, would you slow down? You walk like this, and I walk like this.
Hey, it's hard. Sometimes we got places to go, people to see. We're doing
exactly.
We ain't got time to waste.
That's right.
Well, I think we covered a whole lot, and I know we've talked mental game. We've talked, eye hold positions. We've had a lot of listeners say they want to get like technical on one subject and just go really deep. And I feel like we've gone pretty deep with the feet today and the body and kind of the weight distribution. Is there any other things to do with weight, hips, feet that we're missing here?
I would say one thing: wear some good shoes when shooting. I mean, I tend to, I'm wearing Brooks or Adidas Ultra Boost.
You got that Ultra Boost money, though. I mean, most of us can't afford that stuff. We're wearing
Skechers Ultra Boost money thanks to Zach Nannini Financial. I mean, it helps.
I got you that boost money.
Hey, that's right. Hey, Justin, my squad mate, Justin Debris, he's got a few more boost dollars than I do, since he's got a few more boost tennis shoes than I do. So,
Yeah, I that's such a good point. We completely overlooked and didn't go, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
I was waiting for the right time to throw it in, and you were just like,
you gave it to me. That was perfect. So with shoes, like if we were going to say, let's talk about the type of shoe. Like, is there a type of shoe that you need to wear to trap shoot? Because I know, like some people like Darrow Handy said, "Hey, I want to wear a cowboy boot." Right?
That's what I was just going to say. Cowboy boots. When I was a lot younger, I shot in cowboy boots. You're automatically getting that automatic lean, so to speak, weight forward a little bit. I just say a good quality shoe, not a shoe that is super soft in the heel. Because if it's real soft in the heel, you're gonna sit on your heels.
So something with a stiff enough heel to keep that heel up off the ground. Now,
That's
do
right.
you know anybody that's using spacers or like orthotics in the back to push that heel up, or is it all just a good quality shoe with a step?
Good quality shoe.
Now,
I wear a lot of Merrells.
Runners, or like do you like shoes that are completely flat, or do you like shoes that have a little bit of an edge from the back to the front?
A little bit of edge, possibly. That's why I like the Ultra Boost. It's not flat. It's just tilted just a shade.
It's getting you forward.
Not shooting in like my dad. I remember when the first year my dad shot any registered targets was 1998 at the Nebraska State shoot. I was going to the Hall of Fame that year, and he decided he was going to shoot the whole state shoot. Never registered target in his life, and he was shooting in Birkenstocks.
Hey,
and I was like, Dad, what and he's like, it'll be fine. I know what I'm doing. He shot in a tank top and Birkenstocks, and he had a mark on his shoulder, and but he loved it. He was doing it.
As much as I want to talk crap on the Birkenstocks, I know there's some shooters in the country that I've seen that wear those damn things and then break good scores. So
That's right.
I mean, you could figure it out. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to be wearing any Birkenstocks with my Italian white feet, but
listen, we've seen your feet. You keep them things. You need to wear some jeans too.
No, the legs are beautiful, but the feet, we want to keep those things in. We put Puma socks on from Costco, throw them in some freaking throw some Skechers on, and we're rolling, baby.
Oh Lord, yeah. Just I always say get a good quality shoe. I mean, I remember teaching Mitchell Pearson at Arizona, and he had I can't remember if they were Hokas, whatever they
Hokas, right?
And he kept like sitting on his heels.
Well,
and
some of those shoes, they're so flat. Like you talk about those, like I don't know, like a Nike Jordan or like the flat, flat shoes. And I know people that were like, those things are level flat and they're designed to keep your heels on the ground. Like that's not it. I mean,
a good cross trainer, maybe a runner doesn't have the toe turned up, but I remember with him, I told Mark, I said, Mark, go buy him a pair of shoes. That night they went to the mall in Tucson, got him a pair of Brooks Beast tennis shoes. He came back. I did another lesson with him. That week he got 3 yards in handicap.
So there's your announcement, folks. If you're having trouble shooting, maybe try a different pair of shoes. Like if you're like, oh, I ain't hitting nothing, I'm behind. I mean, check your equipment. If your soles are all wore out, I mean, hey, we wouldn't shoot a wore out shooting pad, right? We need new pads on the shotgun.
Right.
We need new shoes on our feet. We got to be looking good. I mean, that's just part of it.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's another aspect of it. And it's just, there's all these little things that add up that make a big difference.
Well, with that being said, I think we should get out of here today. That was a ton of great information. We covered it in good detail. I'm sure we're going to get some follow-up questions, guys. If there's any other things that you'd like to see me and Ricky dive really deep on, send us an email, hit us up on the page. Let us know, but we're looking forward
to the shoots,
Yeah, hit us up. We're always looking for great things to talk about, and we've got a huge lineup of some great shooters that we're going to interview soon. So we're keeping it interesting and keeping it fun, and we appreciate everything you guys do.
That's right. Thanks, everybody.
Happy Friday.
That's right. Happy Friday.
And the Trap Talk podcast is brought to you in part by
RM Shooting Clinics. Have Ricky take your game to the next level. If you want to shoot hundreds, give Ricky a call today. Zach Nannini Financial. We believe in putting people first.